proceed with your phone. Let's see your amazing face, your ambassador face, please.
Yes, you have to. I'm trying to see how I can get my face. The rain this morning has messed up a few things. Yes, here I am, Sophie. My regards to members of the Star Nation. My gratitude to Ambassador Elijah Mba, who has made it possible for me to be here this morning. My gratitude to my upline, Ambassador Isaac Mamsa. I am here to testify and give my story. Just give me a minute to see if I can sort out my... Share my screen because it's been disabled. Is there any way I can share my screen? Can you hear me, Sophia?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. We'll just make your other device co-host right now. We'll make your second device co-host, okay? So it can enable you share your screen.
All right.
So just give us a minute. We're working on it. Just give us a minute, okay? So we can make your second device co-host. Ambassador, sir, your second device has been made co-host, okay?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right, sir, you have 15 minutes. Please stick to the time. Thank you, sir.
I'll try my best. Well, my name is Ambassador Professor Ferdinand Ominiabos. I'm here to give my story, which is titled Phases of Life-Changing Decisions. I was born with a licking finger in my mouth to Mr. and Mrs. John Ominiabos. Licking finger in the sense that although the family is not poor, is of average in status, licking finger as against the being born with a silver spoon in the mouth, where the family is rich, or golden spoon in the mouth, where the family is wealthy. And these days we talk about the diamond spoon in the mouth, where the family is extremely wealthy. My parents were nurses. My father and mother were nurses. And my intention was to emulate their profession and go further and become a doctor. Well, my family were average in status. They took care of trained their children, and even the extended family children, where we all sit down together and eat from a common plate and share our meat and fish together, where we build this unity in spite of the fact that we come from extended family. Silver spoon was not common during my time, except you are going as a boarder to secondary school, where you go with your fork and knife and spoon and teaspoon, which is compulsory for you to take to school. I was admitted to a secondary school as a boarder. And when I got there, I found that the school did not have science for those who want to do science. I was depressed and complained to an uncle who now registered me with a correspondence college called Wolsey Hall, London, in England. So I was taking physics, chemistry, biology, English, and mathematics on the side while attending my school on the other side. My behavior was actually against school rule, but I needed to achieve my life ambition. That was the first phase of my life-changing decision, going for extra classes by correspondence. At the end of my WAEC, West African Examination Council examination, I went for my General Certificate of Education, GCE ordinary level, and had credits in my 5 subjects of physics, chemistry, biology, English, and mathematics, and then proceeded for my advanced level at the Federal Emergency Science School, Onikon, Lagos. This was built purposely by the federal government to balance the faculties, which were arts and science. 80% of those going for arts were more than 20% of those going for science. So this school was established to try and balance the equation. I had my advanced level and walked into the University of Ibadan, the Faculty of Medicine. And while in the Faculty of Medicine, taking the various courses, anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, I got fascinated by my professor of anatomy, Professor Grillo, who became my mentor, and found that he was always carrying out research and going and making presentation abroad. So when I had the opportunity after my second MBA examination, I deviated through what we call the intercalated course. A few of us who go through that course go for a first degree in 1 year, a BMed science degree in 1 year, and then join the following class to complete the medical program. But instead of me joining the class, I proceeded for a master's degree. And through the influence of Professor Grillo, I was admitted to Sheffield University, England, Sheffield University is one of the Ivy League universities in England, including Oxford, Cambridge, Manchester, Edinburgh, London. Those are the Ivy League universities. They are more expensive, but they are well-structured universities. So I registered for my master's. After 6 months, they discovered that my work was really getting excellent. So they upgraded my work to that of a PhD, a doctorate degree. So I don't have a master's, but I have a PhD. In 4 years, by 1976, I had completed my PhD at the age of 30, and I was even offered a job in Sheffield as a research fellow. I declined the job because the life in England was too expensive. You only see the sunlight 6 months in the year. Cost of living, you have to have your bath. As a typical Black man, I have to have my bath every day, and the cost of heating water was astronomical. So my intention was to go back to sunshine in Nigeria. But then, considering the fact that Sheffield has been generous to me, I decided to spend 1 year more as a research fellow. So in 77, I ended up in University of Nigeria, Enugu, the only university that was the highest bidder to bring me back home, ship my goods back to Nigeria, and give me a better position as a lecturer. So 1977, I was in University of Nigeria, Enugu campus, and then after 2 years, moved to University of Benin in Bendel, because there is where I got my scholarship to go abroad for postgraduate studies. And after 30 years in the University of Benin, I got a strange call from Abuja asking me to proceed to Bayes University, as I was recommended by the Nigerian Universities Commission to come and assist them in establishing a medical school. So 2000 and December of 2016, I ended up in Abuja, Bayes University. And then while I was there in 2019, I got this text from my niece. Yes, Hope Omniabos Edokpai from Benin. She has sent me a text about a non-governmental organization. I was interested because I thought that was a situation where I could have residual income working for a non-governmental organization. So the person who prospected me was Ambassador Chisom Ugwebo, who told me to go to Shalom Plaza and for a presentation. I thought I was going for an interview. I ended up in Shalom Plaza, Suite 9, and sat down in front of the group where before others came to join the class. And then a pretty tall, fair lady came to make a presentation. I was disappointed because that wasn't what I was expecting. But it got to a stage when she talked about one Dr. Elijah Mba who tendered his resignation. That's when my attention actually got picked up. Somebody doing a residency in obstetrics and gynecology, tendering his resignation for this Own Your Life project. I got curious. At the time when the presentation was over and the selection was taking place, I was not interested. I wanted to see who this doctor is that threw in the towel. And I was told that it was, they pointed at a door. I went in a cubicle next door to the suite 9, and there was Dr. Elijah Mba sitting behind a table. I walked in and introduced myself. I didn't have the time to ask questions when other people came in. So all he asked me was, how many codes was I paying for? So I said 1, just to try and see what it is all about. And that the next day I will go and see him. The next day when I presented myself to see him, he wouldn't see me. Instead, he asked that I be taken to a suite upstairs for my IPO, initial planning orientation. So I got there, the class was full. Luckily, I had a couple of seats in front, which I was ushered into. I sat down, and the person handling the IPO was Vet Dr. Uma. So when he presented cases of 1 code, 3 codes, 7 codes, 15 codes, and then realized that I could have accounts up to 15, and what I make in 1 code is multiplied by 15. I got very much interested. So I went back to suite 9 and told them that they should not register me yet because I was going to pay for 15 accounts. So I immediately transferred the money for 3 accounts, making 4. Then I told them, give me a week, I'll bring the balance to make up 15 accounts. It was when I came, I met Ambassador Isaac Mamsa, who now directed me to his secretary, Rejoice, where I deposited the money. This was a Friday, and it was past closing time for banks. I don't know how they handled the money. So the next thing was Ambassador Isaac called me to say that the products that I paid for, I was surprised, products paid for, where could he reach me? Well, I told him at 8 o'clock that evening, I will be in the Federal Medical Center. And lo and behold, he came with his boot full of 15 cartons with products inside. I was flabbergasted. I didn't know how I could manage all that. I took them home. My daughter was a bit unhappy about what I had done, but I had done it already. So I was told to present 40 names in a list, which I did, and I had 3 sign-ups. And I was told to present another 40 names where where I brought in Confidence Omniabus, my great niece, who is a very close member of my family. We share a common birthday, and this is what had tied us together. So she came in the second group. in the second group of 40 names. And she was having difficulty joining, so I had to link her up with Ambassador Barrister Osatoize Yamo, who had put out a notice for a secretary, and he was happy to have Confidence, who became his secretary. And thereafter, in November of that same 2019, we had the retreat. Confidence came with a team of 9 sign-ups for the retreat. And I actually got my own ticket from Dr. Mba, because this time I was getting myself close to him because of his wife. So after that retreat, during that retreat, the period of that retreat, Confidence had told me that, Daddy, overtaking is allowed. I said, my dear, you can overtake. After all, what are we for? And that is how she created my power right leg, and which has actually lifted me to this position of ambassadorial, global ambassadorial position. And the COVID-19 came in 2020, and I lost activities in the Own Your Life campaign, which had actually changed to La Buena Vida in that 2020. And I apparently went to sleep until 2021, when my upline, Hope Ominabo Sedukbai, called me and asked me whether I was doing my PMA. What do you mean by PMA? I now called Chisom in Benin. What is PMA? And he explained it's your personal maintenance activation. And because from what Hope told me, I had to make my payment, and I have made my payment ever since up to this month. Hopefully by Tuesday, I'll be making my payment. So initially, I had to be sending money to Chisom to make the payment for me, and then I collect the products at the Ames warehouse here in Abuja. Then the next thing was I wanted to establish an office. And the former secretary of Ambassador Isaac now told me to approach Ambassador Isaac. He would assist me. I now drove to a village outside Maraba and met him in his upline's office, Wisdom Peter. And there we discussed establishing an office. I wanted one office at Lugbe, close to the fruit market. But soon after, the White House center came up, and Ambassador Isaac, myself, and Edidion Bassi, Eddie Great, joined forces together to establish an office at the top floor of the White House. Actually, in the second year, we had to drop that office because of the cost of the rent. Currently, I am in an office opposite, in an office in Suite 25 in Shalom Plaza. Now, the implication of my decisions, my first life-changing decision was going in for my science courses from Wusi Hall. The second was changing from the medical program into an academic program, first having my first degree. The third was when I now decided to join the La Buena Vida project, which started as Own Your Life campaign. Now I realized that while I was changing from continuing in the medical program, that if I had completed the medical program, the number of patients I would have treated in a year would have been at most 30 to 50. But if I train 100 students and impact their lives so that by the time they finish, they use the knowledge I imparted on them to treat patients, maybe that same 20 patients in a year, I would have contributed in the treatment of 100 times 20, which is 2,000 patients in a year. And I felt that I could have done so much by treating patients that way. And then when I now realized this in terms of what Ambassador Elijah Mba did when he dropped his residency in obstetrics and gynecology, you can see the lives he had impacted. The number of persons who have come under his tutelage and who have improved themselves in their lives. How many patients, how many babies would Dr. Mba have caught? How many babies would he catch in a year? Let's say about 20 to 50. How much impact would that be in the lives of such babies compared to what he is doing now? So I really appreciate Dr. Mba. He had really impacted on the lives of so many, and I actually classify him as the king of the Star Nation. During that first retreat in 2019, he came up with the cell meeting. And I said, goodness me, Dr. Mba is coming with anatomy in Own Your Life campaign. The cell is described as the minutest functional unit of the human body. If people don't even understand what the cell is, the cell meeting that has been introduced in this business. The cell is an intelligent, minutest part of the human body. It can stand on its own. It has all the information concerning you, and it is functional. It has all the attributes of the working human being, but it is the minutest structure of the human body. These days in technology, we talk of the microchip. That is the microchip in the human body. There are billions of it in each human body, and they are classified into groups to carry out certain functions, and they call that the system. So you talk of the nervous system, the cardiovascular system, and these are systems by the minutest microchip of the human body. This is what this business is all about. I'll have to give my appreciation to Dr. Abalson, Dr. Victor Abalson, Dr. Mike Okoli, and other top members that actually brought about this business. That here, I'm not a professor, I'm actually a student. And I've sat down at the feet of a few of the members, especially Mary Oko, Emelda. These are powerful members of this organization who, whenever they make a presentation, the class is always full to overflowing. My gratitude to these persons who have made it possible for me to get to know a lot of persons. Isaac Mamsa had been a great upline. He had been a great mentor. He had pushed me and pushed me. And sometimes I drag my feet as he's pushing me, just like students do. And Ambassador Dr. Elijah Mba, the king of the Star Nation. So Sophia, Tracy, members who are listening to me, if you take a look at Ambassador Dr. Elijah Mba, isn't he phenomenal? Thank you for listening.